Things you should know this week. Number one, if you look on the back of your bulletin, as always, there's a list of the things happening this week. Check it often, check it early. The September Coordinating Council meeting will be via email only. The agenda is posted on the website, and you can email Marcia. Marcia, where are you at? She's around here somewhere. You can email Marcia to receive a copy of the discussion. And I think that's all I've got for the day.
Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, which we love to call UCOV. My name's Eileen Leapley, and I'm honored to be your worship associate for this morning's service. UCOV welcomes all people who respectfully enter regardless of their job, their country of origin, their documentation status, their skin color, or their ethnicity. Come as you are, shift worker or factory owner, retired or still working. We welcome blue collar, white collar, and any other collar you might think of. Love is the language spoken here, and all others are welcome too. If anyone is here for the first time and feels comfortable doing so, please raise your hand and Jean will come around so you can tell us your name and where you're from. Oh, nice to see new visitors.
My name is Delvin Raymond Holt, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Welcome.
And this is my first time, and it's nice.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Liz, now Osprey from Sacramento, and I love just what you said, opening out. I almost wanted to raise my hand and go, yay, I just heard what I've been wanting to find around here, so thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome.
We are a family.
Mark from Northport. I was originally from Massachusetts, but I haven't really gone to church since I came down here, so checking the place out.
Thank you for checking us out. Anybody else? Oh, there we go.
I'm Patricia, and I'm from Tampa. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for coming, Patricia. Wow, thank you, all of the visitors and the old familiar faces. If anyone is leaving soon or who has just returned this week, please feel free to raise a hand so that we can either say goodbye till we see you again or hello and welcome back. No? Okay. We're now entering sacred space, so please silence all your electronics. And we'll light the chalice. This is my challenge all the time. We light this flame to honor the dignity of labor. Its fire reminds us of the sweat and courage of workers who fought for justice. Its glow calls us to see all work as sacred. Its warmth invites us into solidarity with one another.
I am so glad to see you all here today on this absolutely glorious Labor Day weekend. This holiday wasn't born in leisure, but in struggle. It's a holiday that was created by workers, for workers, to remind the world that the true wealth of a nation isn't on the stock market or in how many billionaires it creates, but it is in the hands of its people. So we come here today to honor the work that builds our lives, the visible work of people like farmers and teachers, builders, nurses, miners, the invisible work of caregivers and cleaners and companions and homemakers. All of the people with tired backs and dirty hands or hands that have been overwashed from washing and scrubbing them again and again and again. So let this hour be a time of thanksgiving for human labor, a time of reflection on justice, and a time of renewal for the sacred work that each of us is called to do. So come and let us worship here together. Our first song is one that I haven't had us do often, but I think most of you know. Number 109, As We Come Marching, Marching. It's also called Bread and Roses. And we're going to do verses 1, 2, and 4. So please rise as you are willing and able. And join me in number 109, As We Come Marching, Marching. This is the time in the service where we do our offering, and as always, it's done with some humor, because giving shouldn't hurt. A UU minister had inherited a lackluster and unmotivated staff who did not rise to the occasion, despite all attempts at motivation and mentoring. Frustrated, he asked a friend who worked for a large company to assist him in creating their terrible evaluations well. The following suggestions are actual quotes from employee performance evaluations at a real large company. Since my last report, this employee has reached rock bottom and has started to dig. His men would follow him anywhere, but only out of morbid curiosity. Works well when under constant supervision and cornered like a rat in a trap. He would be out of his depth in a parking lot puddle. This employee should go far, and he should start right now. He doesn't have ulcers, but he's definitely a carrier. He's been working with glue too much. A photographic memory, but with the lens cover glued on. The gates are down, the lights are flashing, but the train isn't coming. And my personal favorite, the wheel is turning, but the hamster has died. So in order to continue to afford our own absolutely wonderful staff, the morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you all so much, not just for the things you've given today, but for everything you do for the life and the work of the community. Because it's as a community of human hands and human hearts that we come here together to bear witness and to minister to one another as we struggle with the bad and celebrate the good. So if you have a joy or a sorrow to share, please raise a hand and Jean will bring you a microphone.
Good morning, I'm Olga, and I just wanted to let people know that I have the book that we'll be discussing at our next book group, The Prince of Los Cocuyos. And if someone would like to borrow it, I have one available. Oh, and also, if anybody feels the need to feel deep, painful nostalgia for what we've lost, I would look up Richard Blanco's inauguration speech of 2013. I think it was 2013. One today. Thank you.
I want to announce that my lovely wife's birthday is tomorrow.
That lovely wife is Eileen up on the pulpit.
Hi, I'm Pam Palmer, and my anniversary is next Tuesday. And 5 years ago, it was the only event that we had that year for UCOV. So we kind of became the mascots of UCOV, and it's been 5 years as of Tuesday.
Hi, Marcia Zurich. I've just returned from a wonderful trip back to my homeland to be among the people that I grew up with, went to college with. Sadly, I have two dear friends who are suffering from different versions of cancer, and I'm asking for prayers this morning for Skip, for his recovery and healing from lung cancer, and for my funny and wonderful friend Lee, who's recovering from bladder cancer that has now invaded his brain. Wonderful people. They're very, very hopeful, so I'm trying to keep hope alive for them both. Thank you.
Well, I have an announcement. I'm head of the Sunday hospitality team, and I just want to thank everybody who helps out in the kitchen now and again. There's a sign-up sheet out there if you'd like to do that in the future. Olga is helping this morning, and I wanted to note also the beautiful flowers. Those are from Sue Lindemer, from her garden. I'm so impressed. Anyway, thank you all for helping for these things in the morning.
And I lit a candle this morning for my partner who has been quite ill, but after 5 weeks in and out of the hospital and some more time in rehab, she is home and hopefully still watching. So that's a joy. May the love of this community hold all who need love and concern, and may the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we never look away when we're needed. May those who are grieving be comforted, and those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed, and may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
Our first reading is from a speech by Eugene V. Debs on June 16th, 1918. For this very cordial greeting, this very hearty reception, I thank you all with the fullest appreciation of your interest in your devotion to the cause for which I am to speak to you this afternoon. To speak for labor, to plead the cause of the men and women and children who toil to serve the working class has always been to me a high privilege, a duty of love. I have just returned from a visit to the workhouse, where 3 of our most loyal comrades are paying the penalty for their devotion to the cause of the working class. They have come to realize, as many of us have, that it is extremely dangerous to exercise the constitutional right of free speech in a country fighting to make democracy safe for the world. I realize in speaking to you this afternoon that there are certain limitations placed upon the right of free speech. I must be extremely careful, prudent as to what I say, and even more careful and prudent as to how I say it. I may not be able to say all I think, but I am not going to say anything that I do not think. And I would rather 1,000 times be a free soul in jail than a sycophant or coward on the streets. They may put those boys in jail and some of the rest of us in jail, but they cannot put the socialist movement in jail. Those prison bars separate their bodies from ours, but their souls are here this afternoon. They are simply paying the penalty that all men have paid in all of the ages of history for standing erect and seeking to pave the way for better conditions for mankind. If it had not been for the men and women who in the past have had the moral courage to go to jail, we would still be in the jungles. For this morning's meditation, hear the words by U.S. suffragette Helen Todd. I saw that Mother Jones's pillow was sent to her with the inscription, "Bread for all and roses too." She went on, "Woman is the mothering element in the world, and her vote will go toward helping forward the time when life's bread, which is home, shelter, and security, and the roses of life, music, education, nature, and books, shall be the heritage of every child that is born in the country, in the government of which she has a voice. Holding these words in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent thought, meditation, or prayer. Our second reading is Your Life Could Depend on It by Sarah Scotchko. I was waiting for my chalupa in the drive-thru when I saw a sign on the back door. Danger. Never open this door after dark. Always look before you open this door. Your life could depend on it. One of my first jobs was at Wendy's, and I remember having to watch the video about what to do in an armed robbery situation. We were taught where the escape latch is, on the inside of the walk-in freezer. This inadvertently made armed robbery seem like the more attractive career path. Certainly it seemed more profitable, but had all things been equal, I'd still rather be on the outside of the freezer than in it. Nobody should die at their job, but it seemed especially crummy to be risking my life for, at that time, $6.35 an hour. It was tiring and hectic work, and it came with duties I would never have imagined before working there. Sometimes giant tropical spiders would jump out of the crates of potatoes. Once it was a scorpion. Whose job was it to catch the scorpion? I worked with a married couple who had immigrated from Iraq and who had 3 small children at home. In their old country, she had been a doctor. He had been an engineer. I still think of them whenever I hear the argument that if unskilled workers want to get paid more, they should get an education and find a better job. The back door at the Taco Bell reminded me once again that there's no such thing as unskilled labor, and everyone who works behind a cash register or flat top or fryer deserves to be paid well for the work they do. The hours and days of a human life have value beyond measure. Please rise in body and spirit and join in singing number 1021, Lean on Me, a favorite.
Now, I'm originally from Kentucky, as some of you know, so you would think that for me, Labor Day would be rich with stories of miners and the mine strikes, the bloody fights in Harlan County as the unions tried to rise. Not so much. Growing up for me, Labor Day meant three things. It was time for back-to-school shopping when you got your entire 6 months worth of clothing and you better not wreck them. It was time for one last big picnic, and it was time for the local fair. And we used to refer to it as the Alexandria World's Fair. It had about 6 rides, 27 horses, and the entire local population. And so all of us little ding-dongs went out and did our shopping, and I was about 13, I remember. And that year it was very popular to get this cheap rayon sweater. And when you put it on, it immediately heated you up to about 3,000 degrees. And all of us owned it, all of us. You know, I'm unique just like everybody else. So mine had a rainbow on it, my best friends had a unicorn, everybody had one. And for reasons known only to ourselves, we decided we were going to wear them to the fair. This is Kentucky at the end of August, beginning of September. So within an hour and a half, you've got 6 little girls entering heat stroke. And that has always been what stuck. When I think of Labor Day, that's what I remember. It never made an impression. It was just Labor Day. But as I got older and got more involved with unions, proud member SEUIC for years, Labor Day wasn't created to commemorate the day after which it is tacky to wear white. It was not created to mark that last pool party or to give us the extra day for the back-to-school sales. It started as a holiday to honor the people who worked with their hands, and the workers created it, the people with the dirty hands, who were working at that time 12 and 14 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week in unsafe factories, in terrifying mines where the tunnels at times were only 4.5 feet tall, and in crowded mills where the air was so thick with fiber it was like breathing bread. The labor movement stood up and it gave us the weekend. It gave us the 8-hour workday. It gave us child labor laws and got those little people out of sweatshops. It gave us safety standards and collective bargaining, and behind the holidays stands a story of solidarity and struggle and courage and bloodshed on picket lines. It was created as a recognition that the people who built the nation and fed the nation and cared for the nation are worthy of honor. And if you don't think that fight still goes on today, you're not paying attention to the news. Just a few years ago, when I was in nursing home administration, we had people try to break the strike in the nursing home, which was an Orthodox Jewish home. They did it by sending in scabs with jars of pickled pig's feet. They desecrated the temple within the nursing home. They desecrated the kosher kitchen. This fight is still running. And yet, workers get forgotten. The story of Labor Day gets lost in a world where idiocracy is rising and they only want kids to do standardized tests. We hear that this is just a day for barbecues and rest, without remembering that workers fought and died for the 8-hour day and safe conditions and weekends and wages that would actually not let you starve to death. Too often, those same workers, the ones who grow our food and make our clothes and clean our hospitals, care for our kids, are still the most invisible, underpaid, and exploited. So today, I invite us to see work not only as an economic necessity, but as a spiritual practice, and to reclaim Labor Day as a sacred holiday, one that calls us to gratitude and justice and solidarity. Work is not just about earning a paycheck. It's one of the ways we participate in creation, shape our society, and embody our values. The first celebration in the U.S. took place on September 5th in 1882. It was organized by the Central Labor Union, a coalition of workers who wanted to honor laborers. At the time, 14-hour days were the norm. For any of you who have hated an 8-hour day in the office, think about a 14-hour day in a mill. 7 days a week with almost no protection against exploitation. Coal mines actually paid you in company scrip. You didn't even get money. You got company notes. Factories chained fire exits shut. Cheap food was adulterated and tainted. Housing scams that targeted workers were unbelievable. You missed one payment and lost your house. The holiday came out of that, out of the strikes and the marches and the organizing. There were waves of immigrant workers from Europe and Asia and Latin America, African American. Sharecropping was still popular, slavery under another name. And so the labor unions started to demand not only better wages, but recognition of human dignity. These people were people. They were not just cogs in some machine. The idea of a holiday to honor these folks was radical. Because at the time, national holidays celebrated generals and presidents or battles. This holiday was about normal people, and Grover Cleveland signed the bill making it a national holiday, mostly because he was trying to make people shut up after the violent Pullman strike, where underpaid workers brought the railway system to a halt. The federal government called out troops against our own people. Labor rights were not gifted by generous employers or benevolent politicians. They were won through sacrifice and courage by workers who refused to be treated like they were disposable products. Their faith was in solidarity, the conviction that when workers stand together, they can bend the arc of history and skew it towards something resembling justice. Because work isn't just getting stuff done. Work has always had a spiritual dimension. In many religious traditions, labor is not economic but sacred. In the Hebrew Bible, God is described as a worker. He labored, creating and shaping and having to rest. Having to rest. What kind of God before this admitted he needed to rest on the seventh day from his work? The man Jesus of Nazareth worked as a carpenter. The Apostle Paul in the Christian Bible made tents to support himself. These were not the rich and famous. Work is not punishment. It's a participation in the ongoing creation of the world. It gives us purpose and identity, a chance to contribute to the well-being of others. But it can also be distorted, becoming oppression when it is stripped of dignity and when it reduces human beings to cogs in a machine. Hebrew and Christian scriptures warn against this distortion. The prophets denounced those who exploited workers or withheld wages. So to see work as a spiritual practice is to ask, does this labor align with love and justice and building community? Does it build up human dignity or does it tear it down and destroy it? The spirituality of work is not measured in job title or in salary, but whether or not its efforts serve life. So when we look at the labor movement through a spiritual lens, we see that they often acted as a prophetic witness in society. Like the prophets of old, they called attention to injustice, cried out against exploitation, demanded a new order rooted in fairness. Just think about the Bread and Roses strike of 1912 in Lawrence, Massachusetts. It was led by those immigrant women textile workers, those same ones breathing air full of fibers. Their slogan was, "We want bread, but we want roses too." Not just the food that keeps us from dying, but music and dance and beauty and dignity and joy. That is profound. Life is not just about substance. It is not just about surviving. It is about flourishing. The civil rights movement also intersected deeply with labor. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis in '68 because he was there supporting striking sanitation workers. Their conditions for work were so bad that the banners they carried simply read, "I am a man," because they were treated as garbage. This declaration of humanity against the racism and the exploitation was both a labor demand and a spiritual truth. Labor unions at their best remind society that people need rest, that workers are not slaves, that every person deserves respect. And when workers organize, they embody the call to justice and community. And even though this holiday is over a century old, the struggles of workers still happen. Low wages, unsafe conditions, lack of health care, the gig economy. Talk to any 25-year-old and see how many jobs they're working. I know of at least one person where the answer is 5. 2 different part-time jobs, 3 different gigs. Farm workers, many of them immigrants, some without documentation. They harvest the food on our tables. They have no basic protections. Teachers and nurses and care workers. Teachers are given nothing and expected to decorate their classroom from their $25,000 a year salary. Nurses often don't have enough protective equipment. Care workers are tired and working without sick days. People who shape the future and heal the sick are overworked and underpaid. Warehouse and delivery workers endure grueling schedules. Amazon workers, their performance metrics are so bad that many of them are forced to urinate in bottles because the timing for them to go to the potty is so tight that even running, they can't make it to the bathroom and back without getting written up and fired. The pandemic revealed how essential workers are often treated as expendable. Grocery clerks, bus drivers, home health aides, they kept right on going. They had no protective equipment, no hazard pay, and no job security, but they kept showing up at work. The irony is stark. The people most essential to our survival are often the least valued. So to honor Labor Day is to name these injustices and to recommit ourselves to worker dignity. The labor movement continues in strikes by teachers and baristas, auto workers, campaigns for a living wage, demands for childcare and health care and fair schedules. Work is a spiritual practice. When we labor, we are serving others. We are pouring ourselves out for others. The cook serves nourishment. The janitor serves cleanliness. Each form is a contribution to the common good. Approaching work with this mindset translates even ordinary tasks into acts of love and helps us to see why we should fight for the worker to be recognized. Work is discipline. It shapes us, teaches patience and persistence and humility and resilience. Just as monks have daily chores, our jobs become ways of practicing presence and integrity. And work is resistance. It becomes a way of resisting injustice. When workers refuse to accept exploitation, collective bargaining and strikes and advocacy, they're forms of spiritual discipline. Humans are not tools of profit. Work is also creativity. Every worker is an artist. Subway gets one thing right when they call these folks sandwich artists. To build and to repair and to teach, to write, to cook, these are creative acts. These are spiritual acts. So if work is spiritual, then honoring workers is a moral imperative. And to fail to recognize them is to miss this. So on Labor Day, we honor today's workers along with the workers of the past. We honor the farm workers and the field workers who hurt their backs and drip sweat so that other people can eat. The nurses and immigrant nurses who sit at the bedside of the sick, the teachers spending late nights grading papers, the sanitation workers who keep our streets and our homes clean, the factory workers whose labor makes the everyday objects we rely on. So what does it look like to truly embrace this? Fair wages as a moral obligation. The laborer deserves their wage. Fight for fair wages. They're not just economic injustice, they are spiritual harm. Safe and humane conditions. So if all human beings are part of one divine web, if we are all the divine image, then unsafe and demeaning working conditions severs that connection. Sabbath and rest. Rest is not a luxury, it is holy. The right to organize and valuing invisible labor. Domestic work, emotional labor, caregiving. It's unpaid and undervalued. So we've talked about how Labor Day began and that it was a holiday about people that worked with their hands. It's a holy reminder that those who build and grow and clean and teach and heal are the foundation of the society. We are a culture that idolizes wealth while ignoring the labor that creates it. In a society that too often reduces people to productivity, we are called to affirm that human dignity is not earned by output, but bestowed by the fact that we are alive. So let's reclaim this holiday. Let it be a time to recommit to justice, to honor workers, and to see work as a spiritual practice. When we do this, we participate in a sacred task of building a society where every worker, including ourselves, is valued. Every job is dignified, and every laborer can say, "My work is holy, and my value is honored." The true wealth of a nation is not in its billionaires, but in its workers. The measure of a society is not its output, but its dignity. And the true calling of our faith is to honor labor as love made visible. Amen. We blow out this chalice, but we carry into the world the light of sacred solidarity. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn this week, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. As we leave this place, may we carry with us a new reverence for work and workers. May we honor the dignity of every person who labors, and may we see our own work as sacred practice, joining together in the ongoing labor of justice until every worker is free, every laborer is safe, and every hand that builds the world is honored. Go in peace and go in solidarity. Ashe, and may it be so.